The massive crystalline chamber stretched beyond what human eyes could easily measure. Admiral Kate Morrison stood at the center of the Galactic Council's main hall on Nexus Prime, watching as representatives from 847 different species took their positions around her. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime to convert thousands of different languages into something resembling understanding. Kate had been to many important meetings in her 43 years, but nothing compared to this moment. Earth's future hung in the balance today. After 3 years of careful diplomacy and 2 devastating wars that humanity had won on its own, they finally had their chance to join the Galactic Defense Alliance. The reptilian figure of Council Prime Zethkar rose from his elevated platform. His scales caught the artificial light as he spread his arms wide in what humans had learned was a gesture of authority among his people. The Council recognizes Earth's petition for membership in the Defense Alliance, he announced, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. Behind Kate, Ambassador Ryan Clark shifted slightly. The man had spent 15 years learning alien customs and protocols, preparing for this exact moment. His hands remained steady at his sides, but Kate could sense his tension. They both knew how much Earth needed this alliance. The Silicon Horde invasion had ended just 6 months ago. For 2 years, mechanical death machines had swept through the outer colonies, destroying everything in their path. The Galactic Council had declared the threat too great for any single species to handle alone. They had prepared to evacuate entire systems rather than fight. Then humanity had surprised everyone. Using tactics no alien military had ever considered, Earth's forces had not only stopped the Silicon Horde, but completely destroyed their invasion fleet. The victory had cost them dearly. 40 million human lives and hundreds of colonies reduced to ash, but they had won. Now the same council that had written off humanity's chances wanted to decide if Earth deserved a place at their table. Before we proceed to the vote, Zethkar continued, representatives may present their positions on this matter. The first speaker was a floating gas creature from the Andromedian Collective. Its translated words carried the formal tone that Kate had come to expect from older council members. Humanity has shown remarkable military capability, it admitted, but their methods concern us. They use weapons we consider too destructive. They fight in ways that seem unnecessarily aggressive. Kate kept her expression neutral. The unnecessarily aggressive tactics had saved 3 billion lives across 12 star systems. But she knew arguing that point now would only hurt their case. More speakers followed. Some praised humanity's technological innovations and their willingness to share medical advances with other species. Others worried about Earth's rapid expansion and their tendency to form alliances with species the Council considered primitive. Director Lisa Hayes watched from the observation deck above. As head of Earth's Intelligence Division, she had spent months monitoring Council communications. The official debate happening below was just theater. The real decision had been made in private meetings she had been listening to for weeks. Captain Jake Sullivan commanded the small Earth escort fleet waiting outside the station. His ships were there mainly for show. If the Council wanted to destroy them, his 12 vessels would not make much difference against the thousands of alien warships in the system. But Kate had insisted on bringing them anyway. Sometimes symbols mattered more than practical military advantage. The debate continued for hours. Kate found herself impressed by some of the smaller species representatives who spoke in favor of Earth's membership. The insect-like Keth Mori praised humanity's willingness to defend other species without asking for payment. The plant-based Verdani mentioned how human agricultural techniques had saved their dying homeworld, but the major powers remained skeptical. The aquatic Myrthalan Empire questioned whether humans could be trusted with advanced defensive technologies. The crystalline Luxor Federation worried that humanity's independent nature would disrupt Council unity. As the sun set through the station's massive viewing ports, Zethkar called for the final vote. All representatives will now cast their decision on Earth's petition for Defense Alliance membership. Kate watched as voting displays appeared throughout the chamber. Green lights for approval, red lights for rejection. The count began immediately. Numbers flowing across holographic screens visible from every angle. The early results looked promising. Many of the smaller species Kate had expected to support them did exactly that. Green lights outnumbered red ones for the first few minutes of counting. Then, the major powers began registering their votes. the Myrthalan empires. Delegation representing 47 different ocean world cast their red votes in unison. The Luxor Federation followed suit, their crystal forms glowing with rejection. One by one, the largest and most influential council members voted against Earth's membership. Kate watched the numbers shift. Green 312. Red 415. Still counting, Ambassador Clark stepped closer to her side. "It's not over yet," he whispered, but Kate could hear the doubt in his voice. More votes came in. Some surprises. The militant Saurian clans voted in favor of humanity, apparently impressed by their military achievements. The peaceful Ethereal Collective voted against, citing concerns about human violence. When the counting finished, the final tally appeared on every screen in the chamber. 723 votes against, 124 votes in favor. The hall fell silent. Kate felt the weight of failure settling on her shoulders, but she kept her spine straight and her expression calm. Earth had survived worse disappointments. Zethkar's voice carried clearly through the silence. "The Galactic Council has spoken. Earth's petition for Defense Alliance membership is rejected." Before Kate could respond, he continued. "However, Earth is welcome to apply for associate status, which would grant limited trading rights and access to certain Council technologies." Associate status was what the Council offered to species they considered too primitive or unreliable for full membership. It came with restrictions on military development, requirements to share all technological advances, and submission to Council oversight of human colonies. Kate had prepared for this moment. She had hoped it would not come, but she had prepared nonetheless. "The Council has spoken," she said, her voice carrying clearly without artificial amplification. "Earth will remember this decision." She turned to face the assembled representatives. "We came here seeking alliance with equals. We offered friendship, shared technology, and military cooperation. We have proven our ability to defend ourselves and others." Her words were measured and calm, but something in her tone made the vast chamber feel suddenly smaller. "Earth does not accept associate status. We will return to our own space and continue as we have, defending ourselves and those who ask for our help." The human delegation began moving toward the exit. As they walked through the massive chamber, something unexpected happened. Representatives from dozens of smaller species quietly left their positions and approached. The Kethmori ambassador was first. "Earth has been a true friend to my people," she said quietly. "We will remember that friendship." Others followed. The Verdani, a mammalian species from the Outer Rim, several gas-based collectives, even a few individuals from major species who broke ranks to offer private words of support. By the time Kate reached the exit, over 60 representatives had approached them. None could offer official support. Their governments had voted against Earth. But their personal messages were clear. As the human delegation boarded their shuttle, Director Hayes activated her secure communicator. The intelligence she had gathered during their stay would change everything, but that conversation would have to wait until they were safely away from Council space. The shuttle pulled away from Nexus Prime. Through the viewing port, Kate watched the massive station shrink into the distance. Behind them lay rejection and disappointment. Ahead lay Earth and whatever challenges would come next. The Council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. 3 months after the Council's rejection, Earth appeared to be following exactly what the major powers had hoped for. Human ships stayed within their designated territories. Trade missions operated only through approved Council channels. Military patrols remained in human space, making no aggressive moves toward other species' borders. Director Lisa Hayes sat in her underground office beneath the Colorado mountains, studying reports that told a very different story. The secure facility hummed with activity as her agents processed intelligence from across the galaxy. What the Council saw as human compliance was actually the most sophisticated covert operation in Earth's history. Admiral Kate Morrison had named it Operation Starbridge, and it was working better than anyone had dared hope. Dr. Amanda Foster finished uploading another encrypted data packet to Earth's hidden network. The former Council researcher had resigned her position in protest after the vote, claiming she wanted to return to private research. What she actually did was provide Earth with detailed intelligence about species throughout the galaxy that the Council had systematically suppressed. Her latest report focused on the crystalline Veltar, a species the Council classified as useful but limited. The truth was far different. The Veltar were master engineers whose crystal-based technology could revolutionize energy storage and transmission. The Council deliberately restricted their development to prevent them from becoming too independent. Colonel Danny Rodriguez read Amanda's report while preparing for his next mission. The Special Forces commander had spent the last 2 months establishing contact with oppressed species in the Outer Rim territories. His team used modified civilian transport ships that looked like ordinary cargo haulers but carried advanced stealth systems and diplomatic equipment. The first successful contact had been with the Veltar themselves. Rodriguez remembered that meeting clearly, landing on their crystal homeworld under the cover of a supposed engine malfunction. The Veltar leaders had been suspicious at first, accustomed to council representatives who made promises they never kept, but when Rodriguez offered them something no council species had ever proposed, genuine technological exchange with no strings attached, their attitude changed completely. The Veltar had been developing defensive systems for centuries, always careful not to appear too advanced. Earth's offer of alliance allowed them to finally show what they were truly capable of. Captain Troy Bennett managed the transportation side of Operation Starbridge. The experienced smuggler had been working the independent trade routes for years before Earth recruited him. His ship and crew looked like typical rim traders, the kind the Council barely noticed as they moved between systems carrying legal cargo. What the Council did not see were the secret compartments filled with advanced medical supplies, fusion reactor components, and communication equipment that Earth was sharing with their new allies. Bennett's routes created a hidden supply network that connected dozens of systems the Council thought they controlled. Senator Rebecca Torres worked the political side of the operation from Earth, while Admiral Morrison handled military coordination and Director Hayes managed intelligence. Torres built support among human colonies and governments for what she carefully called independent diplomatic initiatives. The senator had spent years studying council politics and had reached disturbing conclusions. The rejection of Earth's membership was not about human aggression or unpredictability. It was about fear. The established powers recognized that humanity's approach to cooperation and alliance building threatened their control over smaller species. Torres discovered that the council structure was deliberately designed to maintain the dominance of a few major species. Voting was weighted by contribution levels that ensured the powerful stayed powerful. Military protection was conditional on compliance with policies that kept member species dependent. Economic opportunities were restricted to prevent any species from growing too strong. Dr. Foster's intelligence network had uncovered something even worse. Species that showed too much independence or technological progress had a habit of disappearing. Official council records usually listed them as victims of plagues, civil wars, or natural disasters. The truth was far darker. Colonel Rodriguez led the investigation team that discovered the remains of the Helix collective on Kepler 442b. Council records showed the planet as uninhabitable due to toxic atmospheric conditions. What his team found were the ruins of advanced cities and evidence of orbital bombardment that had occurred less than 50 years ago. The Helix collective had been a species of energy beings who had developed faster than light communication without using council-controlled networks. They had shared this technology with several other species before council peacekeeping forces arrived to deal with what they called territorial disputes. There were no territorial disputes. There was only systematic elimination of anyone who might challenge council authority. This discovery changed everything about Operation Starbridge. What had begun as a diplomatic initiative to build alliances became something much more urgent. Earth was not just offering friendship to oppressed species, they were offering survival. The gaseous Nethron were next to join the hidden network. These beings existed in the atmospheres of gas giant planets and had developed incredibly advanced scouting and surveillance capabilities. The Council used them as information gatherers but never allowed them to develop their own military or political structures. When Captain Bennett made contact with Nethron, leaders in the clouds of a distant gas giant, he found beings who had been watching council activities for decades. They knew about the disappeared species. They knew about the systematic suppression They had been waiting for someone like Earth to offer them an alternative. The aquatic Zulmari were the most surprising addition to the network. Council records listed their ocean worlds as having only primitive life forms. The truth was that the Zulmari had deliberately hidden their advanced civilization beneath the waves, developing biological technologies that could rival anything the Council possessed. Their underwater cities were marvels of engineering. Their bioships could travel between star systems without leaving detectable energy signatures, and their medical knowledge surpassed even Earth's most advanced techniques. They had been preparing for the day when the Council's true nature would be exposed. Admiral Morrison coordinated the growing network from a hidden command center in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. What had started with one species had grown to include over 30 different civilizations, each bringing unique capabilities and knowledge to the Alliance. The Veltar provided advanced crystal technology that made Earth's energy weapons more efficient. The Nethron shared stealth techniques that could hide entire fleets from Council sensors. The Zulmari offered biological enhancements that could help human crews survive in environments that would normally be lethal. But the most valuable contribution was information. Each species in the network had pieces of the puzzle about Council operations, hidden facilities, and planned actions against independent worlds. When combined, this intelligence painted a picture of an organization that was far more dangerous than Earth had initially realized. Director Hayes processed reports that showed Council forces moving to isolate several systems where Earth's allies were located. The timing was not coincidental. Someone in the Council hierarchy had noticed increased activity among species they considered under control. The test came when Council forces demanded that the Veltar surrender 3 of their leaders for questioning about unauthorized technology development. The crystalline beings had made the mistake of using some of Earth's shared fusion techniques to improve their city's power systems. Admiral Morrison faced her first major decision about the network. Earth could stay hidden and let the Veltar face Council justice alone, preserving the secret alliance for future use, or they could act to protect their new allies, revealing at least part of their capabilities but proving that Earth's promises meant something. The Admiral's choice would set the tone for everything that followed. Earth had built this network by offering genuine partnership and protection. Now they had to prove they meant it. Morrison activated the emergency communication system that connected all Starbridge allies. Her message was brief and clear. Earth honors its commitments. The Veltar are under our protection. Any attack on our allies will be considered an attack on Earth. The Council was about to learn that humanity's rejection had consequences they had not anticipated. General Chris Palmer stood in the shadow of humanity's greatest secret, watching construction crews put finishing touches on the warship that would change everything. The hidden shipyard floated in the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Saturn, completely invisible to Council sensors thanks to Nethron stealth technology, wrapped around Veltar crystal matrices. The ship before him looked nothing like traditional human vessels. Engineer Maria Santos had designed something entirely new, combining the best ideas from every species in their hidden network. She called it the Guardian-class destroyer, and it represented 5 years of secret development using technologies the Council did not know existed. Final weapons tests completed successfully, Santos reported, her excitement barely contained despite months of careful work. The Veltar crystal energy cores are operating at 112% of projected efficiency. The Nethron phase shift systems are completely undetectable by standard Council sensors. The Zulmari bioarmor is healing minor damage faster than we can create it during stress tests. Palmer nodded, reviewing the specifications that still seemed impossible even after seeing them work. The Guardian class was half the size of a standard Council battleship, but carried 3 times the firepower. More importantly, it could appear and disappear at will, strike with precision that no alien military had ever encountered, and repair itself during battle. Lieutenant Sam Carter ran final checks on her fighter squadron in the shipyard's launch bay. The experimental craft she piloted looked more like organic sculptures than military vessels, their biomechanical hulls grown rather than built using Zulmari techniques adapted for space combat. Carter had been skeptical when Professor John Mitchell first explained how the new fighters would work. The quantum entanglement communication system seemed like science fiction, even to someone who flew spacecraft for a living. But after months of testing, she had to admit the results spoke for themselves. Her fighter could receive instantaneous orders from command regardless of distance or interference. More importantly, all 24 fighters in her squadron were linked through the same quantum network, allowing coordination that traditional radio communication could never match. They could execute complex maneuvers as if controlled by a single mind while maintaining individual initiative and creativity. Professor Mitchell monitored the quantum communication tests from his laboratory deep inside the asteroid facility. The breakthrough had come from combining human theoretical physics with Veltar crystal resonance technology. The resulting system created communication links that operated outside normal spacetime, making them impossible to intercept or jam. The implications went far beyond military applications. Every ship, every base, every ally in their network could now communicate instantly across any distance. The Council's control over information flow, one of their primary tools for maintaining power, had become irrelevant. Admiral Morrison received the first quantum transmission from Earth while inspecting the Guardian-class destroyer. Director Hayes' message was brief but carried enormous implications. Council forces moving toward Veltar space. 12 battle groups. Arrival in 6 hours. Morrison had been expecting this moment since her ultimatum 3 days earlier. The Council could not allow her threat to stand without response, but they had also not taken her warning seriously. Intelligence suggested they believed Earth's fleet was still limited to the ships they had seen during the diplomatic mission to Nexus Prime. That assumption was about to cost them dearly. Engineer Santos activated the shipyard's emergency protocols. Construction on 3 more Guardian-class vessels was accelerated to operational status. They would not be fully equipped, but they could fight. The Hidden Alliance had spent too much time and effort building this capability to let it be destroyed by Council arrogance. Captain Alex Harper led Strike Force Alpha from the bridge of the destroyer Liberty, the first Guardian-class ship to reach full operational status. His crew was a mix of humans and volunteers from allied species, all trained to work together using the quantum communication network that linked every position on the ship. Harper watched Council forces enter the Veltar system through sensors that could observe from light years away. The alien fleet was impressive, over 200 ships including several massive battlecruisers that could destroy planets. But they were using standard Council tactics, assuming they faced a primitive enemy with limited defensive capabilities. The Veltar had evacuated their civilian population to underground crystal cities that could withstand orbital bombardment. Their surface installations looked abandoned, but hidden defensive systems waited for the right moment to activate. Most importantly, Guardian-class ships were already in position throughout the system, completely invisible to Council sensors. Council forces began their attack exactly as Harper had predicted. Battlecruisers moved into high orbit and began charging their main weapons for planetary bombardment. Smaller vessels formed protective screens while fighters swept the area for hidden defenses. They found nothing because they were looking for the wrong things. Harper waited until the Council fleet was fully committed to their attack positions before giving the order. All Guardian units execute Starbridge Protocol. Protect our allies. The Liberty appeared directly above the Council flagship, materializing from stealth so close that collision alarms screamed on both vessels. Harper's weapons officer, a Veltar engineer whose crystal-enhanced targeting systems could calculate firing solutions faster than any computer, opened fire immediately. The Council flagship's shields were designed to stop conventional energy weapons. They offered no protection against weapons that combined Veltar crystal resonance with human plasma technology and Nethran phase-shifting capabilities. The alien ship's shields collapsed in seconds, and its main weapon systems were destroyed before its crew realized they were under attack. Similar scenes played out across the Veltar system as 8 Guardian-class vessels revealed themselves and engaged Council forces at point-blank range. Lieutenant Carter's fighter squadron added to the chaos, appearing inside enemy formations and using quantum-coordinated attacks that confused Council pilots who had never faced such precise teamwork. The battle lasted less than 30 minutes. Council forces that had expected to destroy a helpless planet found themselves outgunned, outmaneuvered, and completely overwhelmed by an enemy they could barely understand. Over half their fleet was destroyed or disabled, and the remainder retreated in complete disorder. Professor Mitchell monitored the battle through quantum communication links, recording everything for analysis. The data would help improve their systems, but it also provided proof of something more important. The network they had built could defend itself against any Council force. More significantly, the quantum communication system had automatically broadcast the entire battle to every allied species in real time. Beings across the galaxy watched as Earth's forces protected their new friends with capabilities that far exceeded anything the Council possessed. Admiral Morrison received reports from across the network as the battle ended. Species that had been hiding their true abilities for generations were openly declaring their alliance with Earth. The Zulmari emerged from their ocean depths with bioships that dwarfed anything in Council fleets. Crystalline civilizations revealed cities that floated in space, completely self-sufficient and heavily armed. Most importantly, dozens of species that had been forced into Council membership against their will sent secret messages offering to switch sides. The hidden network was becoming an open rebellion, and Earth was at its center. General Palmer watched rescue operations begin as Guardian-class ships helped repair Veltar facilities damaged in the brief battle. Council forces had been repelled, but this was only the beginning. The major powers would not accept this defeat quietly. Engineer Santos was already working on improvements based on battle data. The next Guardian-class ships would be even more capable, and construction time was being reduced as more allied species contributed their expertise. The Council had voted against Earth because they feared human unpredictability and innovation. Now they were discovering that their fears had been entirely justified. Fleet Admiral Greg Thompson studied the holographic display showing the largest armada ever assembled in galactic history. 3,000 Council warships from 12 different species hung in space just outside the Sol system, their combined firepower capable of sterilizing entire star clusters. The alien fleet stretched across millions of kilometers. Battle formations that had conquered hundreds of worlds now focused on destroying humanity's home. Intelligence Chief Laura Williams sat beside him in the command center buried beneath Luna's surface, processing intercepted communications that revealed the Council's true intentions. "They're not planning to offer terms," she reported quietly. "The major powers have decided that Earth and all our allies must be completely eliminated. They're calling it Operation Final Solution." Thompson had expected nothing less after the Council's humiliating defeat at Veltar. The alien leadership could not allow Earth's rebellion to inspire other species without destroying their entire power structure. But they had made the same mistake as before. They still believed humanity was limited to the capabilities they had observed during diplomatic meetings. Dr. Kevin Ross monitored biological warfare detection systems from his laboratory in the asteroid belt. Council intelligence had prepared plague weapons designed specifically to target human DNA, planning to release them after their fleet destroyed Earth's defenses. The alien leadership wanted to ensure no human survivors could spread their ideas of cooperation and democratic alliance to other species. Ross had spent months developing countermeasures after Director Hayes discovered the Council's biological weapons program. Working with Zulmari medical specialists, he had created treatments that could neutralize every known Council bioweapon. More importantly, he had developed delivery systems that could protect entire populations in minutes rather than months. Captain Alex Harper prepared Strike Force Alpha aboard the destroyer Liberty as Council forces began their final approach to Earth. His mixed-species crew operated with the efficiency that only quantum-coordinated teamwork could achieve. The Guardian-class vessels had been improved based on lessons learned at Veltar, and 24 of them now waited in hidden positions throughout the solar system. The Council fleet entered Earth's system expecting to face desperate resistance from a single world. Instead, they encountered defensive positions that had been prepared for this exact moment. Jupiter's moons revealed themselves as massive weapons platforms. Saturn's rings launched clouds of stealth fighters. The asteroid belt itself seemed to come alive as hidden bases activated simultaneously. Admiral Thompson had learned from studying every Council military campaign in their recorded history. The alien forces always used the same basic strategy: overwhelming firepower applied to break enemy morale, followed by occupation of key planets. They had never faced an enemy that understood their methods and had prepared specifically to counter them. The first surprise came when Council battlecruisers attempted to establish orbital bombardment positions around Earth. Instead of finding a defended but vulnerable planet, they discovered that every major population center was protected by energy shields that combined Veltar crystal technology with human fusion power. The planet's surface gleamed with protective barriers that could withstand direct hits from capital ship weapons. Fleet Admiral Thompson waited until the Council forces were fully committed to their attack formation before revealing the true extent of Earth's preparations. "All defensive stations, execute Protocol Starbridge," he commanded through quantum communication links that reached every corner of the solar system instantly. Mars revealed itself to be not just a terraformed colony, but a fortress world bristling with weapons that fired crystal-enhanced energy beams across interplanetary distances. Venus emerged from its cloud cover as a Zulmari bioship construction facility that launched living vessels the size of asteroids. Even Mercury contributed to the defense, its solar collectors powering weapons arrays that turned the system's star into a tactical asset. Council forces found themselves fighting not just Earth, but an entire solar system that had been converted into a single massive defensive network. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid was part of a coordinated defense grid that shared information instantaneously and responded to threats with precision no alien military had ever encountered. Lieutenant Sam Carter led her expanded fighter squadron in attacks that demonstrated the quantum communication system's true potential. Her pilots could execute maneuvers that required split-second timing across distances measured in astronomical units. When Council fighters tried to intercept them, they found themselves facing opponents who seemed to anticipate every move before it was made. The battle for Earth's system lasted 3 days and changed galactic warfare forever. Council forces, that had expected to overwhelm primitive human defenses instead, found themselves trapped in a combat environment where their enemies could coordinate actions across the entire solar system as if they were fighting a single opponent. Captain Harper's Strike Force Alpha proved particularly devastating to Council morale. Guardian-class destroyers would appear inside enemy formations, deliver precise strikes that disabled rather than destroyed alien vessels, then disappear before return fire could be targeted. The human commanders were deliberately avoiding unnecessary casualties, but their restraint only made their capabilities more terrifying to Council forces. Dr. Ross monitored attempts by Council forces to deploy their biological weapons and activated countermeasures that neutralized the attacks before they could reach populated areas. More importantly, his systems automatically analyzed each bioweapon and transmitted immunity treatments to every allied species in real time. The Council's most secret weapons became useless within hours of deployment. The turning point came on the second day when smaller Council species began defecting during active combat. Intelligence Chief Williams had been broadcasting evidence of the major powers' crimes against sapient species throughout the galaxy, and many alien crews realized they were fighting to preserve a system that had oppressed them for centuries. Entire battle groups switched sides in the middle of combat, their ships suddenly turning to attack their former allies. The Kethamorian sectoid vessels were first, followed by mammalian species from the Outer Rim territories. Even some gas-based collectives abandoned their formation positions to join Earth's defensive fleet. By the third day, the Council's assault force had collapsed into chaos. Major power species found themselves fighting not just Earth's prepared defenses, but their own former allies who had witnessed humanity's genuine offer of partnership and chosen freedom over continued subjugation. Fleet Admiral Thompson received surrender requests from over 40 different alien commanders as the battle reached its conclusion. The Council's remaining forces were trapped between Earth's defensive systems and their own rebelling allies, with no possibility of victory or escape. Admiral Morrison arrived from the outer system aboard a massive vessel that demonstrated the ultimate expression of Allied cooperation. The New Horizon was not built by any single species, but grown, constructed, and engineered using techniques from every member of their alliance. It served as both flagship and symbol of what different civilizations could accomplish when they worked together as equals. The Council's command ship, a massive construct that had served as the mobile capital of their government for over 1,000 years, sent a desperate transmission requesting terms for surrender. The major powers who had voted to destroy Earth now found themselves begging for mercy from the species they had dismissed as primitive and aggressive. Thompson's response was broadcast across the galaxy through quantum communication systems that reached every inhabited world simultaneously. His words were simple but carried implications that would reshape galactic civilization. Earth accepts your surrender, but we do not negotiate with war criminals. The Council's leadership will face justice for crimes against sapient species. The galaxy deserves better than your rule. President Nancy Allen stood in the chamber where the Galactic Council had once ruled over 800 species, but the crystalline hall looked very different now. Representatives from over 600 civilizations filled the space, but they were not arranged in the hierarchical seating that had enforced the old power structure. Instead, every species had equal position in a great circle that symbolized the democratic principles Earth had brought to galactic politics. The trials of Council Prime Zethkar and the other major power leaders had concluded 3 months earlier. Admiral Steve Cooper had overseen the proceedings that revealed centuries of systematic oppression, resource theft, and genocide disguised as peacekeeping operations. The evidence presented by Earth's intelligence network and allied species had been overwhelming and undeniable. Zethkar himself sat in a detention cell designed by Veltar engineers, waiting for transport to a rehabilitation facility on a neutral world. The former council leader would spend the rest of his life working to repair damage his government had caused, alongside other officials who had participated in the systematic destruction of independent civilizations. And Ambassador Helen Burke worked with representatives from species across the galaxy to finalize the Galactic Federation Charter. The document represented everything the old council had opposed: democratic decision-making, equal representation for all sapient life, free sharing of beneficial technologies, and protection for developing civilizations without forced compliance to external authority. The Charter's key principles had emerged from months of careful negotiation, but they reflected values that Earth had demonstrated rather than imposed. Mutual defense without mandatory participation meant species could choose their own level of involvement. Technology sharing programs operated on voluntary basis with full credit to original developers. Most importantly, no single species or group of species could dominate others regardless of their military or economic power. General Paul Martinez supervised humanitarian missions that were transforming worlds throughout the galaxy. His joint fleets included vessels from dozens of species, all working together to rebuild civilizations that had been damaged by centuries of council oppression. The logistics were enormous, but the quantum communication network made coordination possible across galactic distances. Martinez's teams had discovered over 200 worlds that council records listed as uninhabitable or destroyed by natural disasters. Most of these planets showed evidence of orbital bombardment or biological warfare, their populations eliminated when they developed technologies or political systems that challenged council authority. The survivors, hidden in underground cities or scattered across space, were being contacted and offered assistance in rebuilding their worlds. The work was not just about construction and medical aid. Many species had lost knowledge of their own history and technology after council educational programs designed to make them dependent. Earth's xenoarchaeologists and historians worked with local populations to recover cultural artifacts and scientific knowledge that had been deliberately suppressed. Admiral Morrison coordinated the massive effort from the former Council Command Center, now converted into the Federation's coordination hub. The irony was not lost on her that the same facility once used to control and oppress the galaxy was now helping species achieve genuine independence and cooperation. Reports flowed in daily from across known space. The Crystalline Collective had emerged from hiding in the galactic core, revealing cities built inside stars that could provide unlimited energy for nearby systems. The ethereal networks had begun sharing consciousness-linking technologies that allowed different species to truly understand each other's perspectives. Even species that had never been contacted by the Council were reaching out to join the Federation as news of the new alliance spread. President Allen addressed the assembled representatives as they prepared for the Federation's first democratic vote. 10 months ago, the Galactic Council rejected Earth's petition for membership because they feared our approach to cooperation and alliance building. They were right to be afraid, but not for the reasons they thought. She gestured to the mixed-species crews visible through the chamber's viewing ports. Humans and aliens working together on construction projects that were creating new orbital habitats around the station. They feared we would disrupt their system of control. They were correct. But what they could not understand was that we offered something better than control. We offered genuine partnership. The first Federation vote was symbolic but important, a formal declaration that the galaxy rejected authoritarian rule in favor of democratic cooperation. The result was unanimous among the 612 participating species, but more importantly, it was enthusiastic. No one had been coerced or threatened into participation. Admiral Cooper reported from the Outer Rim territories where Federation peacekeeping forces were helping former Council colonies establish their own governments. Many of these worlds had never been allowed to develop independent political systems, and the transition was challenging but successful. Human advisors worked alongside local leaders to create governmental structures that reflected each species' unique needs and values. The military situation had stabilized more quickly than anyone expected. Council loyalist forces had either surrendered, joined the Federation, or retreated to isolated systems where they posed no threat to galactic peace. The major powers' military capabilities had been built on controlling smaller species' resources and populations, and without that foundation, they could not maintain effective resistance. Dr. Kevin Ross supervised the medical programs that were addressing centuries of biological warfare and genetic manipulation the Council had used to control subject populations. Working with Zulmari specialists and medical experts from dozens of species, his teams were reversing engineered diseases, treating suppressed immune systems, and helping populations recover their natural biological heritage. The work was deeply personal for many species who discovered that health problems they had, accepted as natural, were actually the result of deliberate Council interference. Entire civilizations were experiencing population growth and extended lifespans as their biology returned to its original state. Ambassador Burke announced the completion of the Federation's administrative structure during a ceremony that was broadcast across the galaxy. Unlike the Council's hierarchical bureaucracy, the new system was designed to serve member species rather than control them. Every department was staffed by representatives from multiple civilizations, and all major decisions required input from affected populations. 5 years after the Council's rejection, President Allen walked through New Geneva's Central Plaza and watched human children playing with young aliens from dozens of species. The sight that would have been impossible under Council rule was now commonplace throughout Federation space. Integration was happening naturally as barriers to communication and travel disappeared. The quantum communication network had evolved beyond its military origins to become the foundation for galactic civilization. Artists shared their work across species barriers that had existed for millennia. Scientists collaborated on projects that combined knowledge from hundreds of different approaches to understanding the universe. Even simple social interactions between different species were creating cultural exchanges that enriched everyone involved. Admiral Morrison received the final reports from exploration teams that were mapping regions of space the Council had declared forbidden. They were discovering ancient ruins, isolated civilizations, and natural phenomena that had been kept secret to maintain the illusion of Council omnipotence. The galaxy was far larger and more diverse than anyone had realized. As she reviewed the data, Morrison reflected on the irony that had shaped galactic history. The Council's vote against Earth had been intended to preserve their power by excluding a species they could not control. Instead, it had created the catalyst for their complete overthrow and replacement by a system that gave every species the freedom they had been denied. The galaxy had become what Earth had always advocated for, a place where cooperation trumped domination, where innovation flourished in freedom, and where different civilizations could grow stronger together than any could alone. The Council's final blunder had become the foundation for a better future.